All of the DriveTribe cars are broken. The Evo has its engine out. The MGF is broken. The Alpha is broken. And the Jag XKR needs an MOT. But we've added someone to the team that's going to fix them all. Maxwell, welcome to the team. You have no idea what you've got yourself into.
I'm excited. I'm a little bit nervous because I know you like to buy interesting, for want of a better word,
like this.
Vehicles, yeah.
You guys may have seen Maxwell in our Alpha Brera series on the main channel. He kicked ass presenting and mechanicking in that series, and now he's joined the DriveTribe team to be our in-house technician, sorting out all of our rust buckets.
Well, you've got a job straight away with this car. It's sat here for about a month now.
Yeah.
And, you know, it drove fine. I bought it from Alex, barn find.
Yeah.
And it drove completely fine. I reckon I drove it to and from work for about a month.
Drove?
Yes.
Okay.
But then one day, the idle started going vroom, 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 and then it died.
Okay.
And this is where it's sat ever since. So shall we just dive into it and see what the hell's wrong?
Let's have a look.
So Maxwell, have you ever worked on an MGF?
Never. I've never worked on MG. I'm not really the biggest fan of mid-engine cars. It's always a bit of a minefield.
Yes.
It's struggle life. But to be fair, after having a little look, it doesn't look terribly tight. It's a bit awkward, but I think we can...
I mean, there could be more access.
There could be more.
So this is the boot access. There's not too much here, but if we flip up this,
we have the magical...
and pull out that, can you get on that? Yeah, take him down.
Okay.
There you go.
That's
There's the case.
That's the engine.
As it stands, the car doesn't idle.
But it does start.
It does start, but it'll die immediately. If I hold it on the throttle, it'll stay alive for a bit, but then it will just fight itself and then go. So, I thought it was spark. So I changed the plug leads.
Yeah.
I changed the idle air control valve. I was like, here we go, zero change. So it's not that. So I think it's a vacuum leak, but that's what you're here for.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like symptoms of a vac leak. Could also be a MAF problem.
Having grown up with Rover K series, the one rule is that you don't rev it from cold because the head gasket goes, but we don't really have a choice.
I mean, you don't have to rev the nuts off it, just enough to create some vac.
It still makes me cringe, but let's have a go. You have a listen and tell me what you hear.
Will do.
Wait a minute.
Huh? It's idling.
Yes!
It's idling fine, isn't it?
What the hell?
Well, we fixed that one onto the...
I actually cannot believe it. I've got video footage of it doing what it's doing. But maybe the thing that I did, maybe the idle air control valve has finally done its thing.
Maybe it fixed itself. Maybe. I fiddled with the MAF plug. I did fiddle with this plug. I don't know if that made...
Oh. This is it. This is it.
So it's slightly warm idle problems. Maybe on cold it idles.
Yeah, see, it's like now it's doing its thing. It's gonna die soon.
I'm going to unplug the MAF while it's running and see if it makes any difference whatsoever. It might try and stall out.
Honestly, this is the best the car has ran in about 3 weeks. That's really making a difference, isn't it? Oh. It's all over the place.
It's all over the place, isn't it? It's not really sure it wants to be at the moment. Let me have a quick look in here. Let me have a plug.
I can't believe it. It's suddenly running quite nicely.
I mean...
Maxwell's just got the magic touch. You've just come in, just given it a bit of a stroke and bang.
It's not perfect, but it doesn't sound terrible. I mean, it's running.
Here we go.
See, I'm not sure what's going on.
So when it was oscillating earlier, was that when it plugged in or out?
It kind of did a bit of both. So now it seems to be fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to plug it back in and see if it makes any difference. It seems to run a bit
straightforward.
It seems to be fine. I mean, you could be right. It could be where you've replaced the idle control valve. It's decided to... Have you driven it since that?
Since...
You replaced the idle control valve?
No.
You didn't drive it, you just...
I couldn't drive it.
Oh, it wouldn't?
It wouldn't hold. That is...
I'm starting to think that maybe you fixed it.
I can't
by
believe
accident.
it. What, you think it was the idle air control valve?
Yeah, I think it probably was, yeah. It's a little bit of a Pandora's box situation because it's an old car, it's fault finding. You know, we've had to look at all these pipes and see if there's anything blatantly obviously leaking.
That's fine.
Well, I fixed it, so.
This MGF runs. 1-0 Maxwell.
1-0 Maxwell, yeah. MG at a loss. I genuinely think maybe the control valve was the issue and it's just taken a bit of time to come back to life. Maybe it needed to warm up a little bit, run a little bit, get a little rev through it. But
I actually fixed it then.
I think you might have fixed it.
Oh my God, well, thank you to Retro Sports Cars that sent me that air idle control valve. I put it out on Instagram and they came straight in and sorted me out. I'm so excited. Talk about love-hate with cars. I loved this car when we first bought it from Alex. I've hated it the last 2 or 3 weeks. And now I love it again. I want to drive it to work. Okay, so you fixed this car. Next thing, actually, TRX at the office. You like the TRX?
I like the TRX.
I don't think there's anything wrong, but it's just worth you having a
We'll
look
find
at it.
something wrong. Okay. So this is another one of the DriveTribe machines that we're running with at the moment, the Dodge Ram TRX. Now, I'm 6'2", and this thing makes me look tiny. I've never seen anything so ridiculously big in my life. I mean, you wouldn't want to get hit by this, but I like it. It's very much me. I like vehicles that are not really meant to exist. Like, it's completely impractical in every possible way, but it's so cool. So Mike has clearly neglected it and not cleaned it at all. So hopefully we can get it clean at some point, but let's go and take a look. I actually feel like I fit in this vehicle. Massive screen here, big multimedia display. It is the wrong hand drive, unfortunately, but we're probably not going to see too many of these in the UK, I would imagine. It's a bit of an unusual vehicle, but it's very cool. Mike has left us loads of trinkets and Haribo, some cool sunglasses. Let's go and take a look at the back. Okay, I've not opened one of these before. Some Eagle mess on there. Oh, it's not so bad in here. We've got some oil there, various bits and pieces. Got some tyres, which, and whose would he belong to? Big Mike, you left your clogs here, mate. That is proper 700 horses of redneck power. I like it. Okay, we've got washer fluid low, oil change required. Well, that's all right for now, only 2 warnings. That's pretty good, good going, we can sort that out. I love it, it's definitely me. We're gonna have to take this one for a spin one day if I'm allowed to. I need to speak to the powers that be first. All right, so let's go and see what else we have in the DriveTribe toy box. I think there's a Jag over there, which is looking very low and pretty hardcore. Okay, so here we have ourselves an absolute bad boy XKR, supercharged. It's got quite a few fancy mods on it, so from what I've heard. I haven't had a good look around this car yet, but we're gonna have a look now. As you can see, it's been lowered, custom Tarox brakes, and the one really special thing about this car is it's got a manual conversion, which is extremely rare. But this car, unfortunately, at the moment is up for sale, so we're going to take this one for MOT at some point later today, and it will find a new owner somewhere who will enjoy his luxuries. So you've got your typical heavyweight quality filled Jag doors. Lovely leather interior. It's actually nice soft leather, unlike a lot of these newer cars. The leather's quite tough. Got that Jag smell to it as well. Love it. Loving all the wood trim. Little James Bond screen in the middle. So let's see if we can get started. There we go. She sounds awesome. Yeah. We're gonna have fun taking this to MOT today. So the next DriveTribe car we're looking at today is the old Alfa Romeo Brera, which She's an old friend of mine. I've done some work on her in previous episodes, but she's looking a little bit different now. She's got a bit of paintwork, so it's looking really shiny, and a little bit dusty, but shiny. Nice dark blue is back again, so I'm quite happy about that. Before we bought this Alpha, we ran a check through Car Vertical, which, as you can see, came back green on all the 3 major categories. The odometer mileage came back as consistent, there were no recorded financial or legal issues associated with the car, and the damage records came back clean. So we could be confident we were buying a car without a shady past. Going around, there's a few other tweaks that's been done since I last saw it. We've got some new discs from Tarox. Moving on, we have, which I just noticed this today, we've got brand new seats, which look absolutely awesome. Well done, Mike, on sourcing those, because they look fantastic. They'll actually be very comfortable to drive now. Looking forward to it. We've also noticed we've got a new exhaust. I don't know if any of you guys have saw the last episode which I worked on, or the first episode which I worked on this car. I had to do a questionable bodge to get it through its MOT. Now the exhaust is finally done. We said we would do it, and we did it. Today we're going to do a couple of little tweaks to the car. Now we've got a few parts to fit on, as we're still going to try and get to the bottom of the smoking issue which we were having on the dyno. I've got a few ideas of what it could be, but we're going to start from cheap to expensive and try and do a bit of fault finding. So when it comes to issues such as poor running, smoking issues, bad fueling, sometimes it's better to start with the cheapest items and work your way up, because often you can end up buying expensive parts, replacing expensive parts when you don't necessarily need to. Today what we're going to do is we're going to first use a diesel additive provided by Liquid Moly. This should help clean the diesel injectors, which I suspect may be one of the causes of our problems. However, rather than replace them straight away, it's always worth giving it a try with a product such as this to see if they clear out and start running better. Other thing we're going to use is we have a Liquid Moly diesel intake system cleaner, which will help clear out any residues inside the intake manifold. Again, help the car breathe better and give it a better running. For those of you who saw the last episode where we replaced the air filter on this Brera, it is the worst one I've ever seen. And for those of you who haven't seen it, please click the link here and go and check it out. A lot of particles would have got sucked up into the MAF sensor, so we've decided to replace that today, and also the MAP sensor. All of these things should help the car run a bit smoother and hopefully address our smoking issue. So first things first, we're going to use the Liquid Moly Super Diesel additive, which we'll put straight into the fuel tank, and that should help clear out the injectors as the car's being driven along. So it's simple as popping open your fuel cap and dropping the entire contents into the tank. So the next job, we've got to get under the bonnet, and we're going to have a look at the MAF sensor, which is located conveniently only here. So it's just a couple of clips and an electrical connector, and we should be able to swap that with a brand new one. So it's a relatively straightforward process. First things first, take off the connector. You've got this little security tab, and then you squeeze it and pop it up. And then we need to take off the clips, which you have this special clip tool for, which works really well on Italian cars because they always use the same strange little clips rather than normal Jubilee clips. They do work, but they can be a bit of a nightmare if you haven't got this tool to get back on. So there we go. Now let's see if we've got enough space to get this thing out. And this should just come straight out eventually, nice and easily. And there's a Jubilee clip I lost earlier. What's important with the MAF sensors is to look at the direction. They have an arrow on them, which is the direction of airflow. So when you put in your new MAF, it's very important you have it the right way around. Otherwise, the car is not going to run correctly. Straightforward, just pop it back in the way it came out. Little bit of force. There we go. And make sure you don't drop your clips if you can avoid it. Let me draw for my tool and clamp this puppy back in place. Also, another easy mistake to make, I'm not gonna lie, I've done it plenty of times, is never forget to plug your MAF back in, because you'll start the car and it simply won't run, and it'll be as simple as you've forgotten to plug your MAF in. And if you put it in the right direction, it even helps even more. The next job is to replace the MAP sensor, which is under the engine cover, so we'll pop that off. And it is right here on top of the engine bay. So nice and easy to get to for a change. On some vehicles, it can be tucked really far down or really down the side, whereas this one, luckily, it's very easy for us to access. So good point for Alfa Romeo on that one. Same as the MAF, you unplug the connector first, and you've got one Torx screw at the back. So sometimes it can be a little bit of a pain to undo. It's very important you use the right Torx bit and just be gentle with it. Luckily, this one is actually not hard at all. But the last thing you want to do is round the screw off, because then you're in a world of pain. But this one, luckily, is actually in very good shape. So put that somewhere safe. You do not want to lose that. And then this should just wiggle out. There we go. As you can see, it's got quite a lot of soot. If I get a clean bit of my glove, quite a lot of soot and carbon buildup on that, which is not good for running. With these sensors, a lot of people try to cut corners and get cheap knockoff or no-name branded ones, and I can tell you right now from experience that it's not worth the money. Always go with a decent branded sensor, because a lot of the cheap ones simply don't work, or they just don't work very well. Just a comparison, if you look at the difference in how clean they are, yeah, you can clearly see that the old one is very sooted up, and that's not going to help it be able to take accurate measurements of the manifold pressure. Installation is the reverse. You just pop it straight on, back to where it started, and then pop the screw back in there and tighten it up. But do not He-Man tight these screws, because they don't need to be that tight, and you run the risk of stripping it and causing major problems in the future. And then once again, don't forget to plug it in. So the final job of the day is the diesel intake cleaner. So in order to do that, every car is a little bit different, but you need to find a point, preferably after the MAF sensor, where you can spray the intake cleaner into the throttle body. On this car, conveniently, we've got this resonator box, which is just to silence or quieten down the intake noises, which is great for us because there's a nice little pipe here which we can spray into. So I've already taken the clip off. This one, we just lift it up and pull the pipe off. And there we go. Once we get the intake cleaner, it's got this nice long straw. We'll feed it through into the intake pipe, get it ready. And once the engine's running, I'm going to keep my hand over the hole to prevent any air leaks, and I'll incrementally spray in while somebody's holding the accelerator at about 2,000 RPM. I'm basically spraying a couple of seconds at a time and then giving a rest a couple of seconds at a time, and you just continue to do this until you've used the can, and that should help clean the intake. Okay, so we've finished putting the treatment in. We follow the instructions. It's important you make sure you check exactly what you're doing before you do it. And then now we've got to pop the intake resonator box back on. Now the proof will be in the pudding once this car is being driven, because remember, we've also put the additive in the petrol tank. All these additives do take a little bit of time to work, and they require the car to actually be given a really healthy drive in order for that to happen. So in the meantime, we're still waiting for the brakes. So it's going to be a little bit of a break for this car. But once that's good, once the brakes are on, once it's good to run, we'll drive it out and see how things go and take it from there. Hopefully this solves the problem. So the next car we were going to look at was the Evo 8, which is currently at pole position, getting some major engine work done to it. So unfortunately we can't check it out today. However, it will be on future episodes, so keep an eye out for that. And that has been the DriveTribe toy box for today. My name's Maxwell, and catch me on future episodes. I'm going to be working on all these puppies, keeping them running, modifying them, and doing all the rest of the work that needs to be done. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.